Okay, so I finally finished Ulysses. I want to give my final thoughts on it. I already talked about this in a previous video, but I think it's worth a second video because this is the most challenging, perhaps the most rewarding, and a new favorite book of mine. And this is something that if you can really dedicate a lot of time to, if you can really be patient with, you can really have a lot of fun. Because the thing about James Joyce is he's James Joyce. Like that's the only way to describe him. It's something that only he could do, and he really, put his hardest effort into creating something that was so dense, that was so unique, that the style will never be replicated again. And if you can really get past the bulkiness of it, if you can really get past the weirdness of it, you'll have a lot of fun. The book is styled in stream of consciousness, which just means that you don't necessarily know who's speaking versus who's thinking, or if it's imagination or if it's reality. There's a bunch of references that you'll see throughout the book, and then they start to make more sense, and then if you look them up it makes even more sense. And this is a book that, like, so when I read, I usually get something like first try. Like, it's just how I am. Like, I can collect the analogies, make sense, I can always rationalize things in my head. I might not pick up everything, but like I get the bulk of these things. I would say I only got 10% of this book. Like, I got the basic plot points, and it was a combination of me reading with also getting summaries online. I was literally using ChatGPT to look up the references while I was reading it. Like, I felt like Sherlock Holmes. I was really investigating this book, and the more you dig into it, the more you find, the more you appreciate it, because there's irony, there's satire, there's jokes. It's written in a different style every different chapter, and it really reflects the human experience. The basic story of Ulysses is, it's almost an analogy. It's almost copying the style of the Odyssey, where Leopold Bloom is the protagonist, and he's trying to get back to his wife who's having an affair, and he runs into Stephen Dedalus, the protagonist in James Joyce's first work, A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, and they get up to all sorts of hijinks, and not much really happens in the book, but a lot happens at the same time. And it's really a story about everyday people. It's really a story about the everyday man. Like, most of the time you read stories, it's like the hero goes out and goes on a great quest and does this and does that and learns all of these things. But the truth is, this book is just about real life. This book is about the everyday struggles, and the overarching struggle is the struggle to come to grips with a failing marriage, the struggle to come to grips with sexuality in a repressive society that takes place in Ireland. And Ireland at the time, I don't know if it's still the same way, but was very restrictive, was very Catholic, and very puritanical in certain senses. And it's interesting to see the realities of sexuality and see the realities of what people were actually interested in, and were actually partaking in, and seeing it for what it really is. Because when we think about people from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we think that our society is so different. You think, like, you see the vulgarity on TV, you see the vulgarity in songs, and you think that, oh my God, people have devolved. But the truth is, it's just more open now. And it's interesting because when this book was published, it was pretty much banned in the United States. I don't know if it was banned in other places in the world. I'm sure it was. But it was a very, very controversial book, and it probably is a controversial book to this day, because there's some uncomfortable parts of this book. There's some parts of this book that I'm just reading and I'm like, I really want to get past this. I really don't want to be reading this. But there's also a lot of fun parts. There's an entire chapter where the character is being asked all of these questions, and it's just going into so much detail, and it's like, it's really weird, because you kind of get a scope into exactly what James Joyce thinks about these things. And then again, you could just be thinking maybe he's talking through the character, but like, you're getting a lot of analysis. And then there's another chapter where Leopold Bloom is basically having a fantasy about him becoming like a mythic Christ-like figure, and he eventually gets killed, and then everyone celebrates his death, and they celebrate him as like a martyr hero. It's like, it's just so unique, and it's so interesting. And the coolest part about this book is the shifting from normal conversation to exactly what the person's thinking, to a daydream, to something completely different. And I don't know, it's a nice change of pace, because when you read normal novels, when you read normal books, like, things have to happen. But if you think about it, if you really take a look at everyday life, a lot of things happen. Like, I bet you if you really noticed everything that happened to you today, you could write a 700-page novel. And it's that attention to detail that makes you almost live in the world. It makes you almost be there in your own head. And it's just really cool, like the world building. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like you feel like you're with these characters because of the level of detail. And this is a book that you need to read several times before you ever understand. And I'm really excited to undertake that journey. I just ordered Finnegan's Wake. I think it's going to come soon. I heard that book's even harder. I heard that book's even more difficult. But my suggestion, if you want to pick up this book, I would first start with A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, because that's going to give you an introduction on one of the main characters in Ulysses, the son-like figure that Leopold Bloom basically takes under his wing. And it'll give you a little insight onto how James Joyce writes, because it's much easier to read. It's much more conventionally poetic. It's much more conventional in its style. It's still very experimental, but this is a whole new beast. This is a whole new animal. This is something that you need to really prepare yourself to read. And at the same time, I would either suggest you get like a companion book. There's tons of books that are guides to this one, or you use ChatGPT. That's what I was using, because I don't really like the style of reading. Like when you read an introduction to a book, I'm not really a fan of that. I think a lot of it's boring. I think a lot of the context isn't important to understanding, and I think it like kind of shades you, because I want to believe what I want to believe about a book. I don't want someone to tell me how to interpret something. So I kind of stay away from introductions. So I really liked using ChatGPT, because it would give me like one of the main characters that came up in both A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man and Ulysses was Parnell. I have no idea who Parnell is. I don't know anything about Irish history, and I'm looking him up and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. It makes sense in the context of why this is brought up, and it makes sense why this is important, and it makes sense why Joyce keeps talking about this guy, because it's a very interesting idea. Parnell was basically an Irish nationalist who was having an affair with a married woman, and it basically led to the downfall of his life. And you're like, this guy was like a hero to the Irish people because he was having an affair with a married woman. Like, they've just destroyed his reputation. And it's like, it's very interesting when you get that little bit of history, because when you understand that, then you understand the context of the society that these things are taking place, and it puts a context on the taboo-ness of the events going on in the book. And I just think this is a book that like everyone will take something different away from, and it's just so cool that we get to share this sort of experience. We all get to share going into this book completely blind and not understanding it, and being excited to read it again. And I will link this book in the description. I love you guys so much. Please pick this up if you have the patience and dedication, because this is going to be one of your favorite reads. If you're anything like me, I know you'll love it, but it's something that you'll be very patient with, and something that you're going to have to devote a lot of time to understanding, and you're not going to understand on your first read. You probably won't understand on your second. James Joyce himself wrote, I wrote this book so that for the next few centuries, literature professors will be debating on exactly what I meant every single word. So I think he did that. I think he accomplished it. I love you guys so much. Peace out. Catch you in the next one.